Imagine this. You awaken on an ordinary Tuesday morning. The alarm blares, slicing through the fragile veil of sleep, jolting you into consciousness. Your eyes snap open, heart racing, gripped by familiar dread. It's not just another workday. Today feels different. Heavier, something is shifting beneath your feet. Invisible yet palpable. You dress mechanically, each button fastened like a lock clicking shut, sealing you into the costume required to play your daily role. As you commute, the city pulses around you, a blur of faces locked in similar masks, eyes glazed with resignation or hidden anxiety. You arrive at the office, greeted by the sterile fluorescence of artificial lights, the hum of machines, and the murmurs of colleagues who nod politely but remain distant. You sit down, open your emails, and there it is, a short, impersonal message from management. Your position has been terminated, effective immediately. Your heart stops, time freezes, the room spins in slow motion, and suddenly, the carefully constructed identity you've worn like armor cracks wide open. The job title, the security, the validation, it all evaporates in an instant, leaving you exposed, vulnerable, and strangely liberated. But why liberated? Shouldn't you feel devastated, ashamed, worthless? Isn't that what society expects? Herein lies the unsettling paradox. Losing your job, the very event society conditions you to fear most, might actually be the catalyst for discovering your true self. But how can something so painful, so humiliating, also feel like freedom? How can devastation coexist with liberation? Consider this. From childhood, you've been taught that your worth is tied directly to your productivity, your employment, your ability to feed into a neatly labeled box within society's grand machine. You've learned it to equate your identity with your career, your salary, your social status. But beneath these external markers lies a deeper, unexplored self you've quietly ignored, suppressed, or forgotten altogether. Now, stripped of your societal role, you stand face to face with a stranger, your authentic self. Who are you without your job, without your title, without the comforting illusion of security and identity provided by employment? This question terrifies you. Yet it also ignites a spark of curiosity, a longing to finally confront the hidden truths buried deep within your psyche. Could it be that society's greatest fear in employment, rejection, failure is actually a secret gateway to profound self-discovery? Could losing your job force you to confront your shadow, those unconscious parts of yourself that psychologist Carl Jung described as the hidden repository of your true potential and deepest fears? Society has conditioned you to avoid uncertainty, to cling desperately to stability, even if it means sacrificing your authenticity. You've been taught to fear the unknown, to see unemployment as a personal failure rather than an opportunity for growth. But what if society is wrong? What if the very structures intended to protect you are actually imprisoning you, keeping you from exploring the depths of your psyche, your creativity, your true purpose? What if the pain of losing your job is not a punishment, but a wake-up call, a brutal, yet necessary rupture, designed to shatter your illusions and force you into existential confrontation? These questions gnaw at the edges of your consciousness, unsettling yet irresistible. You feel the tension building, the weight of a truth you've sensed but never dared to explore fully. You begin to wonder, have you been living someone else's life all along? Have you unknowingly traded authenticity for security, passion for predictability, purpose for comfort? This paradoxical moment, standing at the precipice between devastation and liberation, demands your attention. It compels you to ask yourself the great question: what if losing your job is not the end, but the beginning of your true life? As this question reverberates through your mind, you feel a strange, exhilarating uncertainty. The ground beneath your feet is no longer solid, but perhaps it never truly was. Perhaps the only real security lies not in clinging desperately to societal expectations, but in embracing the terrifying, beautiful unknown that awaits when all illusions fall away. And so, standing at this crossroads, you begin to sense that your journey has just begun. The path ahead is unclear, fraught with uncertainty, yet brimming with possibility. Before you lies the hidden truth, the psychological and philosophical roots of this paradox why society fears unemployment so deeply, and why confronting this fear might be the key to your ultimate liberation. You pause, breathless, on the edge of revelation, eager yet apprehensive to delve deeper into the hidden problem lurking beneath society's surface, ready to explore the profound psychological and philosophical forces shaping your life in ways you've never imagined.
To understand why losing your job might paradoxically be the key to discovering your true self, we must first confront a hidden truth deeply ingrained in the fabric of modern society. Beneath the surface of our bustling cities, behind the polished facades of corporate skyscrapers and the reassuring hum of daily routine, lies a profound psychological and philosophical dilemma, a dilemma rooted in humanity's desperate search for meaning, identity, and purpose. At its core, the fear of unemployment is not simply an economic anxiety. It is existential. Society has conditioned us to equate our worth with productivity, our identity with occupation, and our security with conformity. But why? The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung once observed that the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parent. Similarly, society imposes upon each of us the unlived collective dreams, ambitions, and fears of generations past. We inherit these expectations unconsciously, absorbing them through education, media, family, and culture. Slowly, imperceptibly, our true selves become obscured beneath layers of societal conditioning, roles we never consciously chose but dutifully perform. Jung referred to this hidden part of our psyche as the shadow, the repository of our repressed desires, fears, and authentic potential. The shadow contains everything society deems unacceptable or dangerous: our creativity, individuality, vulnerability, and rebellion against conformity. Yet it also holds the keys to our deepest truths and greatest strengths. By ignoring or suppressing this shadow, we live fragmented lives, disconnected from our authentic selves. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche echoed this sentiment when he warned of the dangers of herd mentality, the tendency to conform blindly to societal norms, sacrificing individuality for safety. Nietzsche argued that true freedom and self-realization require breaking away from the herd, embracing uncertainty, and courageously confronting one's inner chaos. He famously declared, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." But modern society fears chaos. It demands order, predictability, and productivity. It rewards conformity and punishes individuality. Thus, the shadow grows, silently sabotaging our lives through anxiety, depression, addiction, and a profound sense of emptiness, symptoms psychologist Gabor Mate attributes directly to our estrangement from our true selves. Mate argues that addiction, whether to substances, work, social media, or approval, is fundamentally a desperate attempt to fill the existential void created by disconnection from our authentic selves. Our compulsive attachment to employment, status, and external validation is itself a subtle form of addiction, masking deeper psychological wounds. Losing a job, therefore, becomes a withdrawal symptom, exposing the underlying emptiness we've long ignored. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, known for his pessimistic yet insightful views on human nature, observed that much of human suffering arises from our relentless pursuit of external validation and desire-driven ambition. This pursuit, Schopenhauer argued, traps us in an endless cycle of dissatisfaction, always chasing fulfillment externally, never realizing it can only be found within. Yet modern society thrives precisely on this dissatisfaction. Consumerism, careerism, and competition depend on our perpetual insecurity, our belief that worth and happiness are commodities to be earned or purchased. Aldous Huxley, in his prophetic novel Brave New World, depicted a dystopian future where citizens were conditioned to seek constant distraction and superficial happiness, never questioning their deeper purpose or identity. Are we living Huxley's nightmare today, numbing ourselves with work, entertainment, and consumption to avoid confronting the uncomfortable truths within? Existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre argued that humans are condemned to freedom, meaning we are inherently responsible for creating our own meaning and identity in a meaningless universe. But society offers an escape from this terrifying freedom: prescribed roles, identities, and careers that relieve us of the burden of self-definition. Losing your job thrusts you back into existential freedom, forcing you to confront the terrifying yet liberating responsibility of defining yourself anew. Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, famously wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that humans can endure almost any suffering if they find meaning in it. Frankl discovered that even in extreme deprivation, those who maintained a sense of purpose and authenticity survived psychologically intact. Yet, paradoxically, modern society often deprives us of genuine purpose, substituting it with superficial goals and external validation. Losing your job strips away this illusion, forcing you to confront the existential vacuum and seek deeper, more authentic meaning. Thus, the hidden problem is clear. Society conditions us to fear unemployment because unemployment exposes the profound existential void beneath our carefully constructed identities. It reveals the psychological shadow we've suppressed, the chaos we've avoided, and the freedom we've abdicated. This realization is unsettling, even terrifying, yet it is also profoundly liberating. Standing at the threshold of unemployment, you begin to glimpse the truth. Society fears your true self precisely because it cannot control or commodify authenticity. You sense that beneath the pain of job loss lies an invitation, a call to confront your shadow, embrace existential freedom, and reclaim your authentic identity. Yet the consequences of ignoring this invitation are dire, silently shaping your life and society in ways you may never have imagined. To fully grasp the urgency of this moment, you must now delve deeper into the unseen consequences of society's hidden conditioning, consequences that silently govern your reality, shaping your choices, emotions, and identity without your awareness. Every day you live within the confines of society's invisible cage, unaware of how deeply its bars penetrate your psyche. The fear of unemployment, the terror of losing your societal role, quietly shapes your every decision, influencing your beliefs, emotions, and behaviors in ways you have never fully recognized. But how exactly does this hidden force silently dictate your reality? Consider first the neurological dimension. Your brain, evolved over millennia to ensure survival, is wired to seek certainty, predictability, and social acceptance. Neuroscientists have identified a powerful cognitive bias known as the status quo bias, a psychological preference for familiar routines, even when those routines no longer serve your growth or happiness. This bias is deeply embedded in your neural architecture, compelling you to cling desperately to familiar patterns, your job, your identity, your societal role, even when they suffocate your true self. Moreover, your brain's limbic system, the emotional core governing fear and pleasure, is hypersensitive to threats of rejection, isolation, and loss of social status. Losing your job activates primal fears of abandonment and exclusion, triggering anxiety responses as intense as physical pain. Social neuroscientists have demonstrated that the brain processes social rejection in the same neural pathways as physical injury. Thus, society's threat of unemployment is not merely economic, it is neurologically traumatic, reinforcing compliance through the deep-seated fear of existential pain. Yet the consequences extend far beyond neurology. Culturally, society conditions you from childhood to equate your worth with productivity and achievement. Educational systems reward conformity, obedience, and measurable success, subtly teaching you that your value lies in external validation. Media and advertising perpetuate this conditioning, bombarding you daily with messages that happiness, identity, and fulfillment are commodities to be earned through career advancement, consumerism, and social status. This cultural conditioning creates an insidious psychological trap. Your identity becomes externally anchored, dependent entirely on societal approval. Philosopher Eric Fromm described this phenomenon as the marketing orientation, wherein individuals unconsciously view themselves as commodities, products to be sold, branded, and valued according to market demand. Consequently, losing your job feels not merely like an economic setback but an existential annihilation, your market value, your very identity, reduced to nothing. This commodification of identity breeds chronic anxiety, depression, and existential dissatisfaction. Psychiatrist Rollo may argue that modern society's pervasive anxiety stems from a profound loss of authentic selfhood, replaced by superficial identities constructed for societal acceptance. Anxiety emerges precisely because deep down, you sense the fragility and emptiness of these constructed identities. Losing your job exposes this emptiness, forcing you to confront the void you've long ignored. Yet perhaps the most devastating unseen consequence is the slow erosion of your creativity, individuality, and authentic potential. When your identity hinges on societal validation, you instinctively suppress your unique perspectives, dreams, and talents, anything that risks rejection or failure. Psychologist Abraham Maslow referred to this suppression as the Joy complex, the unconscious fear of realizing your highest potential because it challenges societal expectations and threatens your safe, predictable life. Thus, you remain trapped in mediocrity, never fully expressing your true capabilities or exploring your deepest passions. You settle for conformity, numbing yourself with distractions, workaholism, consumerism, entertainment, to avoid confronting the uncomfortable truth of your unlived life. This silent tragedy unfolds daily, invisibly shaping the lives of millions who never realize their authentic selves, never discover their true purpose, never dare to challenge society's invisible prison. On a societal level, the consequences are equally devastating. A culture that fears unemployment above all else inevitably prioritizes conformity over innovation, security over creativity, predictability over authenticity. Such a society stagnates, trapped in collective mediocrity, unable to solve complex problems or envision bold futures. Philosopher Hannah Arendt warned that societies driven by fear and conformity become vulnerable to authoritarianism, as individuals willingly trade their freedom and authenticity for the illusion of security and order. Yet despite these dire consequences, society rarely acknowledges the true source of its collective anxiety and dissatisfaction. Instead, it offers superficial solutions, career counseling, productivity hacks, antidepressants that treat symptoms rather than root causes. The underlying existential crisis remains hidden, silently governing your reality, shaping your emotions, choices, and identity without your awareness. But now, standing at the precipice of unemployment, stripped of your societal role, you begin to sense the urgency of escaping this unseen trap. You feel the weight of your unlived life pressing upon you, the suppressed dreams and potentials aching for release. You recognize that society's greatest fear, unemployment, failure, rejection, is actually your greatest opportunity, a chance to reclaim your authenticity, creativity, and individuality. Yet how can you break free from the powerful gravitational pull of societal conditioning? How can you overcome neurological biases, cultural indoctrination, and existential anxiety to rediscover your true self? These questions burn within you, urgent and compelling, demanding answers. You stand now at the threshold of rebellion, ready to challenge everything you've ever known, prepared to embrace uncertainty, chaos, and existential freedom. Ahead lies the radical shift in perspective, the counterintuitive solutions, and the historical examples of those who courageously broke free from society's invisible prison. The rebellion begins now. Are you ready to reclaim your life? Standing at this precipice between the familiar yet suffocating world you've always known and the terrifying, exhilarating unknown, you feel a surge of rebellion rising within. A defiant voice whispers from the depths of your being, enough. You've glimpsed the invisible chains society placed upon you, the hidden psychological, neurological, and cultural forces shaping your identity, and now the question burns urgently, how can you break free? The answer begins not with external action, but with a radical internal shift, a profound transformation of perspective that challenges everything you've been conditioned to believe. Society has taught you that losing your job is failure, humiliation, and ruin. But what if it's precisely the opposite? What if unemployment is liberation, an invitation to rediscover your true self, reclaim your authenticity, and redefine your life? Consider the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, who famously declared, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Socrates understood that genuine freedom begins with self-exploration, questioning societal norms, and confronting uncomfortable truths. Losing your job forces you into this Socratic moment, an existential pause, compelling you to examine the life you've lived unconsciously, driven by external validation rather than internal purpose. To break free, you must first courageously confront your shadow, the unconscious repository of suppressed desires, fears, and potentials described by Carl Jung. The shadow holds your authentic self, buried beneath societal expectations and conformity. Jung taught that integrating your shadow, accepting and embracing the rejected parts of yourself, is essential for psychological wholeness and authentic living. This process requires brutal honesty, vulnerability, and the willingness to face uncomfortable truths about who you truly are and what you genuinely desire. Yet this internal rebellion is profoundly counterintuitive. Society conditions you to fear uncertainty, chaos, and vulnerability. But philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche proclaimed that true self-realization requires precisely these conditions. Nietzsche celebrated the transformative power of chaos, uncertainty, and existential risk, declaring, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." Losing your job thrusts you into this chaos, not as punishment, but as opportunity. Embrace uncertainty. Lean into discomfort. Trust that within chaos lies the potential for profound creativity, innovation, and self-discovery. History offers powerful examples of those who embraced this rebellion, daring to redefine themselves after societal rejection. Steve Jobs, famously fired from the very company he founded, described his dismissal as devastating yet liberating, freeing him to enter one of the most creative periods of his life, ultimately reshaping the technology landscape. J.K. Rowling, unemployed and struggling, found herself stripped of societal validation, yet this painful experience allowed her to channel her authentic voice into creating the Harry Potter series, transforming literature forever. These examples reveal a crucial truth: genuine creativity, innovation, and authenticity often emerge precisely when societal roles collapse, when external validation disappears, when you're forced to rely solely upon your internal compass. Your rebellion begins by reframing unemployment not as failure, but as liberation, a chance to reclaim your creativity, individuality, and true purpose. Psychologist Viktor Frankl observed that humans possess the unique ability to choose their response to any circumstance, no matter how devastating. Frankl called this existential freedom, the power to find meaning even in suffering. Losing your job strips away external distractions, forcing you to confront existential questions. Who am I truly? What genuinely fulfills me? What purpose gives my life authentic meaning? To answer these questions, you must reject society's superficial definitions of success, status, salary, security, and instead cultivate intrinsic values, authenticity, creativity, passion, and purpose. Shift your mindset from external validation to internal fulfillment. Pursue activities that resonate deeply with your authentic self, regardless of societal approval or economic reward. Rediscover passions abandoned in pursuit of conformity. Explore talents suppressed by fear of rejection. Dare to live according to your own values, even if it means defying societal expectations. This rebellion requires courage, the courage to risk rejection, uncertainty, and failure. Yet philosopher Søren Kierkegaard argued that true authenticity demands precisely this courage. Kierkegaard described authentic living as a leap of faith, a radical embrace of uncertainty and existential risk. Society conditions you to fear this leap, yet it is precisely within this courageous act that you reclaim your freedom, authenticity, and true self. Breaking free also demands practical rebellion, rejecting the societal narrative of constant productivity and embracing intentional rest, reflection, and solitude. Neuroscientists emphasize that creativity, insight, and self-awareness flourish during periods of intentional idleness, solitude, and reflection. Yet modern society stigmatizes rest as laziness, solitude as isolation. Rebel against this conditioning. Prioritize intentional solitude, meditation, journaling, and reflection. Allow yourself space to reconnect with your inner self, to hear the quiet voice of authenticity drowned out by societal noise. Finally, breaking free requires community, seeking connections with others who share your rebellion against societal conformity. Surround yourself with individuals who value authenticity, creativity, and existential exploration. Form networks of mutual support, encouragement, and accountability. Realize you are not alone in your rebellion. Countless others silently yearn for authenticity, creativity, and purpose beyond societal expectations. As you embrace this rebellion, internally and externally, you begin to sense a profound liberation, a newfound power. You realize your identity is no longer defined by society, your worth no longer determined by employment, your happiness no longer contingent upon external validation. You stand now at the threshold of ultimate truth, the final, most powerful realization awaiting discovery. Ahead lies the deepest revelation of all, a paradigm shift so profound it will redefine your entire understanding of reality, identity, and purpose. Are you ready to uncover this ultimate truth, to experience the final liberation that makes all past struggles suddenly clear? You stand now at the threshold of a profound realization, a truth so powerful it reshapes your entire understanding of reality, identity, and purpose. You've confronted society's hidden conditioning, explored the psychological and philosophical roots of your existential anxiety, and embraced the courageous rebellion required to reclaim your authentic self. Yet one final revelation remains, an insight so liberating that it transforms your deepest fears into your greatest strengths, your painful experiences into profound wisdom, and your existential uncertainty into ultimate freedom. The ultimate truth is this: your true identity, worth, and purpose have never depended on external validation, societal roles, or employment. They have always existed within you, unconditionally available, waiting patiently for you to rediscover them. Society conditioned you to believe your identity was something external, earned through achievement, productivity, and conformity. It taught you that your worth depended on societal approval, your happiness contingent upon external circumstances. But these beliefs were illusions, powerful yet ultimately false narratives designed to control, commodify, and limit your true potential. Beneath these illusions lies the profound realization that your authentic self is inherently valuable, infinitely creative, and existentially free. Philosopher Alan Watts described this truth beautifully: you are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. Your existence is not accidental or meaningless, it is a unique expression of universal consciousness, creativity, and potential. You are inherently worthy, inherently valuable, inherently purposeful, not because of what you achieve or produce, but simply because you exist. This realization is profoundly liberating. It frees you from society's relentless pressure to prove your worth through productivity, conformity, and external validation. It allows you to embrace unemployment not as failure, but as an opportunity to reconnect with your authentic self, rediscover your intrinsic worth, and redefine your life according to your deepest values and passions. Yet this ultimate truth reveals an even deeper insight: every painful experience, unemployment, rejection, failure, contains within it the seeds of profound growth, wisdom, and self-discovery. Philosopher Joseph Campbell famously described this insight in his concept of the hero's journey, the universal narrative pattern in which the hero must confront trials, setbacks, and existential crises to discover their true self and ultimate purpose. Your experience of losing your job, painful, humiliating, terrifying, was precisely this heroic journey. It forced you out of comfortable conformity, shattered your illusions, and compelled you to confront your shadow, embrace existential uncertainty, and reclaim your authenticity. Without this painful experience, you might never have questioned society's hidden conditioning, never discovered your true self, never realized your ultimate freedom. Thus, the very experiences society conditioned you to fear most, unemployment, rejection, existential uncertainty, are actually your greatest teachers, your most powerful catalysts for growth, wisdom, and liberation. Psychologist Carl Rogers described this phenomenon as the paradox of change. True transformation occurs precisely when you embrace, rather than resist, your painful experiences. By accepting unemployment as an invitation rather than resisting it as punishment, you unlock its transformative potential, discovering strengths, insights, and passions you never knew existed. Moreover, this ultimate truth reveals a profound existential freedom. You alone possess the power to define your identity, choose your values, and create your meaning. Existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre described this freedom as both terrifying and exhilarating, the realization that you alone are responsible for creating your life's purpose and meaning in a fundamentally uncertain universe. Society conditioned you to fear this freedom, offering prescribed roles and identities to relieve you of existential responsibility. But losing your job thrusts you back into existential freedom, compelling you to reclaim your autonomy, creativity, and authentic selfhood. This existential freedom empowers you to redefine success according to intrinsic values rather than societal expectations. Success becomes authenticity, creativity, passion, purpose, and fulfillment, not status, salary, or societal approval. Happiness becomes internal fulfillment rather than external validation. Identity becomes self-defined rather than externally imposed. Yet perhaps the most profound liberation of all is the realization that you are not alone in this existential journey. Every human being silently struggles with the same hidden conditioning, existential anxiety, and yearning for authenticity. Your experience of unemployment, while deeply personal, is also universally human. Philosopher Martin Buber described this realization as the shift from I-it to I-thou relationships, recognizing the shared humanity, vulnerability, and existential longing in others. This realization fosters profound compassion, empathy, and connection, transforming your personal struggle into collective healing. Thus, your ultimate liberation is not merely personal but collective. By courageously confronting your hidden conditioning, reclaiming your authenticity, and redefining your life according to intrinsic values, you inspire others to do the same. Your rebellion becomes contagious, sparking a societal shift toward authenticity, creativity, and existential freedom. Philosopher Albert Camus famously declared, "The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion." Your authentic existence is precisely this rebellion, a profound act of existential freedom that challenges societal conformity, inspires collective awakening, and transforms the world. Standing now at the culmination of your journey, you feel a profound sense of gratitude for the painful experiences that awakened you, for the existential uncertainty that liberated you, for the hidden conditioning you courageously confronted. You realize that losing your job was never punishment, but liberation, the catalyst that forced you to rediscover your true self, reclaim your existential freedom, and redefine your life's purpose. You stand now authentically, creatively, courageously, fully alive, fully free, fully yourself. Your journey has transformed you, and through your transformation, you will transform the world. This is the ultimate truth. This is your final liberation.